Hey, what's up? Ricky Beard here, and welcome back to Surviving Subsistence. And it's a brand new day. I've been busy in here. I mean, I haven't built any more of the defense perimeter, but I have been busy off camera. I probably should turn that off. In that, I got a plane crash that we'll go to the map, kind of show you where it was. Plane came in from this area, flew all the way through here, did one of these, circle or half circles and slammed into the mountain. There it is. There's the fire from it. And I was successful in fighting the pilots. I got them to chase me all the way down here. Took them out. Funny thing though, the lowest temperatures I've ever seen, it was in the middle of a blizzard. So the temperatures got as low as negative 27 Celsius up here. Unbelievable. Got a lock crate somewhere along, right along here next to this little pond. But yeah, I've just been doing some things behind the scenes. You guys probably wondered, why the content's so slow on Subsistence this week. Not making any excuses here. OBS likes to be kind of a son of a bitch from time to time. And by that I mean, I shouldn't say it's just that. There was an update to the software that I use for my mic, and that went off without an issue. I wish all things would do that, but OBS updates, and from time to time you get an update to that, and I try to keep things current. So I go ahead and push the update through. I'm trying to figure out if I want to go this way today, and where am I at? Levels are all right. Maybe I could top those up before I go. Not going to be getting any lock crates, not going to waste any time making a lock pick. But I'm going to get out and do some looting, talk about future content for the channel, and why things were slow this week. So let's dump this here, and we will get you here. How are these? I don't want to waste that, but shit. How much fiber do we have? Plenty. Let's be wasteful. Might as well. What a jackass. Okay. Top up the food. Deal with that, and we will have one of these of water of this canteen. What am I saying? You know what I'm saying? Have a little bit of water. Good to go. Do we want to go that way? I know for certain that, well, you can see it actually. There's the fortress. You see my mouse right here? Barely moving. There's the fortress. This is a hunter base right here. And this is the other hunter base right here. So they actually stayed relatively close, I think. Wish I could zoom in. Just know that the two hunter bases are here, and the fortress is here. So, even though I wasn't able to put it on camera, I told you, a little further up, building literally right on top of the river. So, yeah. Back to the OBS situation. It updated. And, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out, I'm going to go to the left. There's a rose nip. I don't typically go this way very often. So we'll just look for boxes, bags, talk about the situation. OBS updates. And it decided it no longer knew. There's a white wolf. We're gonna avoid that guy. No longer knew what my sources were. So it disabled my mic as a source. It disabled my I use a 2PC setup for those of you who don't know, for those of you who've heard me say that. Sorry for repeating it, but just as a reminder, I use a dual recording setup. So it's probably that. Maybe if it was just one PC, it wouldn't do this, but this is pretty common for me where OBS will update and then, of course you are. We'll grab this and it'll just shut my sources down, put them back to default. Which is kind of annoying, but that's not even the shittiest part of it. I kind of forget at times, that I have some filters. I don't use a lot, but I do have some third-party filters that I use, and, I noticed shit sounded weird, and I'm still not happy with where my audio is. I'm going to just bitch about that until probably forever. It's just kind of how I am. But, they were completely disabled. And I'm like, this is now the second time since I've gone to the new mic that it has completely not just turned off move my source to default where it wasn't even seeing my mic, wasn't even seeing the audio coming in from the gaming PC to the recording PC, but it completely disabled my filters. And, you don't mess with it constantly. Now, I've said this before. I'm not the elite tech savvy guy, but I can get some shit done. I can work my way through a lot of these things and figure it out. Had a couple of friends, I've got a couple of friends that are very, very inclined, and they know their shit when it comes to this stuff. And they've taught me over the years. I mean, it's been forever ago, but they got me up and going, and I don't want to annoy anybody. I don't want to, I don't want to be that guy that calls somebody up and says, hey, any way you can help me figure out my unique 2-PC recording setup, of which these guys don't even have. They don't even do. Not that they couldn't do it, but, nobody wants that call. Nobody wants to be bothered with that. So, and I can't go to anybody here. I mean, my son records music. He and I are both pretty musically inclined. He records rap music, and he's extremely talented. And I, on the other hand, I can play guitar, quite a few different instruments. We both can sing a little bit. And so we know, to some degree, how to work with this kind of shit. But as far as the video recording software, that's a different ball game. And then with the 2 PCs, you're not constantly monitoring that stuff. You're not always looking to see if your stuff is working. And I mean, typically what I do is I'll get in there to start recording, and I will do a couple sound checks, and then I'll make sure, I'll turn on the monitoring for a bit to make sure that it is hearing me. That's how you realize, oh, it's not even picking me up. And then that everything is up to snuff, that everything's working. But I knew right away that it had done it again. And so I actually, it re-enabled everything. And then I started tweaking, with the sound settings again. And again, I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm probably never going to stop with the constantly tweaking, but I'm still not happy yet with the sound of the mic. It could be so much better, and I don't know if I need to scrap everything and just start over. But that kind of slowed things this week. But the other thing is, I was looking into, the game suggestions. I know I mentioned it last week. I got the suggestion for, and I said this wrong, I think I called it The Last Caretaker, and that's not what it's, or excuse me, I think I called it The Last Creator. The technical title of the game is The Last Caretaker, I believe. Again, not to disappoint. I want to thank all of you, or maybe it was just 2 of you, or whoever that suggested that game. Very much appreciative for even offering the suggestion, looked into it. Like I said last week, not my cup of tea. I'm sure, it's a fine game and whatever, but, we're all finicky like that, or in certain ways. We know what we like, and I looked at it on the surface. I kind of looked into some things on the game, and I thought, yeah, no, it's not really what I'm looking for. But I do appreciate the suggestion. I also looked into Road to Vostok, or Vostok, however you pronounce that. The escaping Finland into Russia. I don't know why anybody would do it. But, so yeah, I'm looking into this, or I did look into it, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I love shooters. And I'm pretty decent at them. Not, tooting my own horn or patting myself on the back, but I'm pretty good at most games that I play. Not professional, not dominant. Maybe could get there. But, man, I got to tell you, I'm looking at it, and I know it's a one-person developed game, so I don't want to get too critical on the matter. Early access game, not unfamiliar with that territory, but it's got a cool idea. And, before I go any further, for those of you that suggested that, don't take it as, oh man, this guy's asking for game suggestions and then he's just shitting on everything that everybody put out there. Not trying to do it. Just know, I mean, I am considering it, and I'm definitely looking into it as other options, and I'm not just saying those things so I can set everybody up to be like, well, I'm just going to do what I want. But I did. I gave it some time. I looked at it in terms of reviews and read up on it. And what I saw, or at least what I found out about the game, is that it's a hardcore, brutal style permadeath game, which, hey, I'm all for that. Sign me up. I've played enough of these, though, now at this point that I can vet this shit and be like, here's the thing. There's got to be a line drawn somewhere. And for those of you that played the game, maybe you can correct me on this. And if so, I'll appreciate that as well. And maybe I'll reconsider. But looking at what I see that white wolf, I'm going to skip on that fiber. Looking at what the game has to offer, you're trying to escape, I believe, Finland to get into Russia. And there's different zones to it. I do know that as long as you're not in Vostok or Vostok, forgive me for pronouncing that wrong, I believe the Vostok area is permadeath. So by the time you get to that zone, you better be pretty well equipped to deal with it. And then the previous zones, someone can kill you, or these NPCs can kill you. You lose the things on you, but you're not. It's not the permadeath zone. And I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty neat. So I'm interested in trying to find more out about it. Then I start seeing the game, and it completely jumps off the screen to me. What that is? Poor gunplay, poor hitboxes. Now again, I understand it's a one person developer, but I got to draw the line somewhere. I get that. I'm not afraid to play these early access games, and everyone say, well, that's part of the growing pains. I get it. But no, it's no for me. And when it looks like that, and maybe again, as I said a moment ago, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe it's not as bad as it looks. Maybe it's the people playing the game that I saw in the reviews. But in the trailers that they offered up, it looked like it was not very well refined. I mean, it looked very floaty through the scopes. The guys, they look like bullet sponges. I'm not interested. If you're going to make a realistic game, I don't know anybody in this world unless they're completely hopped up on all sorts of shit. You start pumping them full of lead, and they just keep running. You're like, I'm a zombie. You can't shoot me. I'm whatever that is. Unless that's the situation, most people get shot. Yeah, they're not going to just be like what I'm seeing. And so maybe I'm just being petty and hypercritical of something that I don't really know about. And, for those that'll defend it, well, that's you're not being fair. Give that guy a chance. I already said it. One person developer, totally understand the situation. But to me, it jumps off the page that it's messy. And as far as I'm concerned, when you're talking about a game of that magnitude and difficulty, you need your gunplay to be on point. You just do. If that's pretty much all you're offering, it's a single-player game that I know of. There's no multiplayer. It's all NPCs, and I'm sure the NPCs are well-tuned. But, are we dealing with that, where the NPCs kind of know where so they can see you through walls? It's just not, it's not my thing. And I sort of, my mind went this way. Game is its build is difficult. Okay, sign me up. But don't sign me up for a game when a big part of the difficulty, again, pump the brakes on this criticism right now, because I could be wrong. But don't tell me a game, that's the charm of the game. The difficulty in the game is the gunplay is so piss poor and the hitboxes are so bad. No, that's not it. To me, that's very frustrating. I would much rather have a fine-tuned game with gunplay and hitboxes and me get, smoked by my mistakes than just fighting the game. That's not fun to me. If that's fun to other people, you know what? Knock yourself out. That's what I got from looking into it. So, my apologies to those of you who suggested both of those games. The Last Caretaker just doesn't look like a game I would be interested in at all. And Road to Vostok looks clunky. It looks really messy. I'll keep my eye on it. And, maybe I'll at least try the demo or something if there's a demo and kind of see how that plays. And I didn't even do that. So, with full disclosure and transparency, now that's the opinion I gave of it. I hear you coming along. The opinion I gave of it is based off of just looking at the game, seeing videos and reviews, small, very short reviews on it, and it didn't appeal. So that moves me into what I wanted to talk about in this video. The other part of why the slow content this week, I've been kind of kicking around different ideas and, what am I going to do if I can't go to something new? I was looking at other options and looking at other games, and I'm like, there's just really nothing new that looks interesting to me yet. So, I mean, you can stick with the old faithfuls like this. And not that I'm going to keep doing a ton of Subsistence every week. I don't want to do that. I told everybody when I started getting back into the series, I don't know what it's going to be, but I think a couple of these episodes a week isn't bad. Gives me time to build up resources, behind the scenes and because the game is so grindy. Subsistence is going to be there for now. But B. Wilder, who's a member of my Discord, oftentimes comments on my videos here. We talk in private, really like the guy. It's interesting. We live miles and miles and miles apart, many states apart. But we share a lot in common. And talk in private, he's always, checking in on my family. He'll see what's going on his way, check on those guys from time to time. And he's very, supportive of what I'm doing on here. And he's no stranger to suggesting options. So I've taken those into consideration as well. And we were talking a little bit this past week about Fallout games. I've got all of them, and I've never started any of them. I've heard nothing but good things about them. I don't know what it is. I don't. There's just some games that I don't know if it's intimidating to me. It's like that's massive undertaking. But he was telling me how great it all is, and that I would probably be interested. And I'm listening for sure. And it's like definitely appreciate the reminder of it. Because like I said, other people have told me that they're really good games, and maybe one day I'll look into it. But he did ask, where are you at on that? I told him basically what I shared with you guys here. Yeah, I've just only gotten a couple of suggestions, and it's not looking well. Not so much about the Road to Vostok, but Last Caretaker's not for me. He told me a little bit about what he watched on Road to Vostok, and so again, we'll see. Maybe I'm not giving the game enough of an opportunity. There's two wolves over there. But since I haven't settled on any suggestions, I did decide that what I should probably do is take some time over the weekend and dig back into Cowboy Life Simulator. It stopped when I started doing other projects, I think towards the end of the year. Then, of course, the Entropy Protocol. It's not that I can keep blaming the Entropy Protocol, but once I got into that, and I said this a couple weeks ago, everything else just ended up suffering. That's a rogue? Crouched? Yeah. A few rogues. All right, let's leave them to it. I'm going to start a gunfight today. I'm trying to build up my shotgun shells. Yeah, I just kind of left that. I think my only gripe about that game, I really like it, but my only gripe about it is way too much dialogue, way too much reading, which is kind of funny because I wrote so much for the Entropy Protocol. I just found myself reading constantly the missions or whatever, and I was doing the voices as best I could. So when I go back to Cowboy Life Simulator, I think I'm just going to kind of skim, the objectives, kind of, read the stuff without trying to do the voices as much. Insert whatever comedy in the commentary where I can, and just see it to its conclusion, because I do like that game. I do think it needs its fair shake to be finished. So I'm going to spend, I think, a little bit of time this weekend and just kind of refresh on how to play the game again. And then bring that back if it's one episode a week, whatever, so be it. But then I was thinking, like, what else did I have on the table? B. Wild and I were talking about, I actually was going to surprise everybody with a game that's a little bit out of what I put on the channel. Not that my channel is really exclusive to anything. I said at the beginning I wasn't going to be exclusive to one type of genre or the other, but I was going to get my hands on He-Man and the Dragon Pearl, whatever that game whatever the actual title is. I grew up born in the 70s, and so I spent my childhood in the 80s. So you can imagine, as an older guy, He-Man was a big part of my childhood. I'm aware that the new movie is coming out. Saw a movie with Dolph Lundgren way back in the day, and interesting to say the least. B. Wilder told me he's a big fan. I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie, but I didn't hate it. It wasn't the He-Man that I wanted to see. I've got really high hopes for the one coming out. I will probably see that in theaters, and the kid in me will come out, I'm sure, and so it'll be an emotional roller coaster because there's so many memories of better times. Not that I don't want to ever get in the weeds, but I had a pretty tumultuous childhood, and when I got in my teens, it got really, really bad. Really, really bad. And I don't want to be that person that sits on this channel and complains about how shitty their life was, but I had a pretty fucking terrible go at it. And so I can imagine going to that movie and it, reminded me of better times before things got fucking sideways in my world. But yeah, I was going to get my hands on that He-Man and the Dragon Pearl on the 28th. And somehow or another, over the course of, leading up to that game, where are we, by the way? How do I not have this part of the map filled in? Holy shit. I mean, yeah, I'm legitimately opening up more map. I don't think that Cold Games enlarging the main map. So what the hell is going on? Maybe I just didn't walk all of the fence line. That's probably it. Well, shit, let's fill in some of this map then while we're here. I know we're a long ass way from home. Don't have any heat packs. Got to be careful with this. Yep, that's exactly what it is. I never went all the way to the fence line. All right, kind of threw me for a loop for a second. I'm like, the hell? Can you believe that? There's a good portion of this that I haven't unlocked. So I don't see the need to go this way yet, but we will walk it back. Oh, look at that. There's a little bit, because it was poking through, I could grab. What was I at? So, now, as leading up to that release, I don't know exactly when, but I want to say within the last couple of weeks, the game got delayed. So here I am on the 28th looking for it, and it's nowhere to be found, or looking forward to the 28th, and it's like, what the hell's going on with the game? It's a side-scroller beat 'em up, is what it is, and it's set heavily in that 80s cartoon universe. Which is like, holy shit, sign me up, man. I can't wait for that. But I don't know when it got delayed, but I completely missed it. There's a white wolf. We're going to skip on you. I'm going to try to avoid the conflicts so we can salvage the ammunition as much as possible. Gather up all the little things, keep talking about my ideas, my plans, and stamina wiped. But I was sharing that with B. Wilder, I was going to bring that to the channel. I think it's like 12 levels, side-scroller, beat 'em up, old-school platformer. And that kind of got the retro itch going. I'm like, man, I wouldn't mind playing some retro games on the channel, too. And I'm sharing that with him as well, and told him there was a G.I. Joe game that released, and I own it. I have it on the console, on the Xbox Series X, and I've been meaning to get to that, and it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and I don't know if it was, I don't know how well it fared in reviews, but I don't give a shit. I'm thinking about maybe even running through that and giving that a try, and I get it's kind of a little bit from the format of what my channel is. Again, it's not exclusive to anything, but expect that. I'm going to throw things at the channel from time to time that you weren't expecting. Okay, so we need to get our asses back on course. Sun's getting ready to fall. We're going to be going home in the night, 800 meters out. But yeah, it did. When I saw that was going to get delayed, or that it had been delayed, I thought, well, shit. Well, wait. Whatever, that maybe gives me some time to potentially throw G.I. Joe at the channel. So, and it got the retro juices flowing. I'm thinking, what other older games would we kind of need to bring to the channel? So if any of you guys are interested in seeing some old school shit, even if it's just one-offs, from the Atari, all of the consoles. I mean, I own physically just about every old console. I don't have them all, but I have the vast majority of them. And a lot of the games that you would probably want to see. Now, I would emulate the majority of whatever the popular games would be. So just know that. I'm not just saying that I own these things. I truly do. I've got kind of a small, not bragging, I got kind of a small museum of old school video games, and I love my old school retro stuff. So I did think that at one point I would do some stuff on that bring to the channel some old school shit, but you never know how that's going to go. And maybe I just need to say to hell with it. If it gets 1 or 2 views, it gets 1 or 2 views as long as you enjoy it, right? I also was thinking about bringing Days Gone to the channel. I know I've mentioned that once or twice. I've not really played a story-based game where it's got a Hollywood-style, cast and a plot that runs like a movie, and you're trying to commentate over that. I think I don't want to be intrusive, and disrupt the flow of this shit. I mean, maybe I just need to find something in that and do one of those once in a while and see how that goes. There's another bag. But the other thing that I forgot to come back to, I mean, I did at least start it, and I'm so glad that I didn't continue with it, because I've sort of tinkered with this idea off and on, and that's 7 Days to Die. Now, if anybody's hearing this and like, oh my God, he's really going to do that again. I don't dislike the game, and I didn't stop playing the game because I didn't want to play it. I'm sure it got lost in the shuffle with other things, and to be fair, and I've probably shared this before, I've spent a lot of time messing with that game, but not a lot of time learning that game. If that makes any sense. We have no stamina. We're still decent ways from it. There's a lock crate. Do we have? You don't have a lockpick. Why are you doing that? So, a lot of time messing with it, not a lot of time learning it properly. And I'm sharing this with you because in January, there's 2 bags here. I don't know how well it's going to show up. I don't have a battery in the flashlight, but we are going to grab these before we get home. I finally, for the first time, why am I doing that? I just took the blueberry out, and then I went ahead and hit take all. Guy's a genius, I'm telling you. So there we are. That is going to come in rather handy so we can run a little bit. Get home faster. But what was I saying? Yeah, I messed with it a lot, but never really tried to learn the game. And a quick reminder, I'm not a fan of tower defense games. So if that disappoints you guys, I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. When I do go back to 7 Days to run a pure survival permadeath series, I absolutely will not run hordes, because it's just not my thing. No slam to anybody that likes hordes in that game. Don't take it that way. There's a wolf. But I'm not interested. I like to stay on the move. I like to be active, and I want to go to your house and take you out. I get that there's revenge attacks in this game and retaliation or whatever, random attacks, and that's fine. I would prefer it be that way. I'm not interested in building up a base, gathering materials or whatever, and for multiple days and trying to reinforce a base just to stand there. I mean, I get there's a ton of base ideas, and a lot of bases are impenetrable. Not my idea of fun. So for those of you who like it, I totally get it. Don't let me rain on your parade with that. Let's put this down. We lost the liver, but whatever. We've got more of this to make some heat. You can see that I've really depleted that, by the way. And let's make a couple of these since we're here. That was the other thing with that crazy cold -27 Celsius. I made a bunch of heat packs just to be able to go up to that mountain. And I want to say I had like 15. And 3 in here. Yeah, I'm down to 7. You can see how many I used just to deal with that. But, yeah, so back to 7 days. In January, like I said, I really did. I finally went through the progression of how the game has changed. Not the tower defense stuff, but, and I really appreciate how, the changes that they made about what it takes to get into the next biomes and whatever else. But I had a pretty shitty idea on top of it. When I said I'm glad I didn't end up going through with it, my plan was to I don't remember what I said, but like X amount of days I was gonna up the what? Put that away. Anything else for the ammo? Doesn't look like it. I was going to up the, the difficulty and whatever. It was so stupid. That idea was insanely dumb, because when I played it with back in January with a bunch of people, we didn't have it on permadeath, or excuse me, what am I talking about? We didn't have it on the hordes. They didn't want to play that either. It wasn't even because I don't like it. They're not interested in that shit either. So they're like, hey, let's treat it as a survival game. So it's like, yeah, absolutely. And we had it on easy because a couple of the guys were not familiar at all with how much 7 Days has changed. Yeah, they were used to the old console version. Like, no, just keep it on, its easiest, whatever that is. Is it Adventurer, or I don't know what it is. I don't remember. But what I found was, and I didn't end up dying in it. It's not a brag, but they got killed quite a few times, just because I had some better understanding of the game than they did. But again, not an expert at it by any means. But I saw it as challenging in its own right. What am I doing? I meant to grab those canteens and fill them up. So I did mean to eventually come back to that, and I was treating that playthrough as a real crash course of everything the game has to offer besides, the tower defense stuff. And what that has, at least in that regard, big fan of it. So I'm more than likely going to revisit that and start that up, but I'm not going to do the whole ratchet the difficulty up. I will probably start on a more balanced, difficulty for me. But that's what I'm kind of thinking as it's starting to snow. I'm going to close out the video here shortly. Let's reload this up. I think I've got everything put away. Forgot I used 2 shells on the wolves while we were out. Now we do have a couple of bandages and the ash. We are starting to build some of that back. How are we doing out here on these guys, though? Do you guys need anything? Of course you do. You always do. I want to get this ash down. This ass. You get rid of some of this ass. We got way too much ass in the base. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. My apologies once again to those of you who suggested The Last Caretaker. We don't need to keep carrying that. I will keep Subsistence going, maybe 1 or 2 episodes a week. I want to get Cowboy Life Simulator in here, maybe the same, and however long it takes to get through the rest of the story, and then replace it with something else later. But 7 Days is definitely on the radar for me to come in as a pure survival permadeath, and we'll see if I can get through to. I mean, I know the game doesn't officially have an end per se, but I do think that that is still something that I want to do. And obviously, there's going to be some Minecraft coming along. I'm really thinking about doing a long-term, forever world, survival of trying to get everything and do everything in the game, not just beat it. Now, I don't know when that's going to be. It may be a while off yet, but so yeah, I just want to run that by you guys, including the retro stuff. See what you guys thought. If that sounds like some content you want to see, since I couldn't decide on the other options that were offered up to me, let me know what you think in the comments about what I'm talking about. Let me know the kind of retro games you guys like to play when you were younger, and let me know if you're interested in seeing some of those retro games get played again. Because I'm open, like I said, to a lot of different options and suggestions. It doesn't always have to be survival. If you want to suggest story games, whatever, I'm here for it. So with that said, I'm gonna cut the video off right here, and I will catch you guys in the next one.